This is More to Say with Randy Naughton. Interesting conversations with interesting people. And we welcome you into another edition of More to Say with Randy Naughton. Interesting conversations with interesting people. We kind of expanded our gamut here because interesting conversations with interesting people can count for so many things. And our guest today, say hello to Scott Schaffer. He is the Chief Information Security Officer with Blade Technologies, Inc. Hello. So no, he won't fix your computer. No, he can't erase your credit card debt. But you know pretty much everything about tech, right?
Well, pretty much. You know, the topic we're going to talk about today is something where if somebody tells you they know everything about it, they're lying because nobody does, except maybe a handful of high-end computer scientists at a big university. So
we're talking today about AI, yep. Artificial intelligence. And, you know, we see about Chat GPT and all these yep. other sites that can do this, that, and the other thing. And I've seen article after article about how it's coming for your job and it's going to change corporate America and it's going to change the way we do things on a daily basis. I'm like, okay, Scott, my head is going to explode. And the good thing about you and I talking today, normally Scott and I, if you're just tuning in, Scott and I have a pretty good relationship from he's joined us on television for many, many, many years. And unfortunately, we had the 3-minute or less window where, you know, Scott would just be getting on a really good roll and I'd be learning a lot. Then be going rap, you know, my little earpiece in my head, the voice in my head. So we never really got to get into the meat and potatoes of some things. Right. So hopefully today, I'm hoping to get into some meat and potatoes of AI, hopefully come out understanding it a little bit better and, you know, I guess talk us off a cliff, Scott. So AI, artificial intelligence, and again, explain like we're 6 years old because
no
this
problem.
one, explain it like I'm 6. What the heck is it?
Sure. I'll get to maybe at least 10. I'll try for 6, though. Okay. You know, the biggest thing about AI that I know is that nobody really understands it. They don't understand AI. What is it? Yeah, that's real common. It's not unusual. I would say the vast majority of people out there really know the term because, you know, there have been movies. You see a lot of stuff on TV with robots and all this crazy stuff. Well, you know, they don't understand that that's not what AI is all about. And, you know, we've got TV shows and books and movies that show things that possible, yes, not in our lifetimes. And all these things that you mentioned, Randy, about looking out for our jobs and all these other things, those are probably true. But it's not going to happen next week. It's not going to happen next year, maybe next decade, maybe in 20 years. Depends who you ask, once again. And we'll talk a little bit later about some people in the industry that have totally diametrically opposed ideas on what's going to happen. So again, if anyone tells you they know exactly what's going to happen, they don't know. They don't understand. And that stands for me too.
Really? So, and you're the smart one in the room here.
I know stuff that's it's very compartmentalized versus a lot of the stuff that it's going to do on like enterprise levels. Because, you know, as you mentioned, some people see it as a fuzzy, fun new thing that we get to play with, like Chat GPT or any of the art creation AIs out there and so on. And other people look at it as a fundamental threat to mankind and seriously want to get things organized and, you know, maybe legislate against it and never allow people to go into it, kind of a la like we do with human cloning in the United States. Other people don't do that, but that's our rules here. So it's neither one of those. It's going to be a tool just like everything else we use, just like a computer is a tool. Now, this is just going to be enhancing your computer capabilities a long way because AI is essentially a tiny infant right now. It's just been born. If you remember, even, you know, a couple of years ago, we were talking about AI, but you weren't hearing it anywhere else except
right.
But now you're hearing it on TV and
everywhere.
Everybody's got AI. And are they lying? No, we've really had AI type stuff for a long time. And that's one thing just, you know, we need to understand. I'm going to go into that as well. But you know, AI has nothing to do with intelligence, really, human intelligence, because it's not a human. And it's modeled to simulate human intelligence. You know, the brain is hugely complex, and we can build a computer to even do a tenth of what a brain can do. We'll get there over time, but the AI is modeled to simulate. So, you know, AI is never going to get, well, let me back up. It shouldn't take over the world and become superior to everyone else. We don't know for sure. Anything can happen in the future, right? But I think we're out in front of it enough now, which is good to hear everybody talking about it, like us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody's going to try to be too nefarious and try to slip something by us. There's going to be a lot of stuff. When we get truly generalized AI in 25, 30 years, I'm sure we'll have some rules, legislation, and other things in place on how to handle that, because maybe you don't want it to get out. Maybe it could act like a virus that gets out onto the internet and it starts consuming all the data and learning more and more and more exponentially and getting in something like a technological singularity, which we'll talk about, and they could take over the world. Right. That's what.
Okay. So what are like some applications that like a layman could understand as far
Sure.
as Chat GPT? I know that one.
That's a good one. There's also, things as far as like a Tesla. A Tesla uses AI to do the self-driving. It does. And the reason we say it uses AI because it makes decisions on its own. That's, again, it's hard enough to get somebody pinned down on what human intelligence is when we start talking about artificial stuff.
Ain't that the truth?
Because it's true. We have, linguistic intelligence. We have social and emotional and the, book intelligence, all these things. And so it's probably going to apply the same for AI in the future. But like a Tesla, for example, you probably heard of the person on the West Coast a while back, about a year ago. They were asleep in the front seat where their car was going 80 miles an hour down the freeway, driving itself.
No.
So that person really, really trusts AI.
I would not ever do that. Well, in what I'm doing in retirement and what I've been doing for many, many years, I'm a voiceover artist. I do a lot of narrations and commercials and things like that, where people hire me to use my voice on their videos or tutorials or whatever it may be. Well, now I'm starting to see little snippets on Instagram and TikTok, and the voice talks like this, and the person came out of the store and they stepped on a nail. That is AI. And
Absolutely.
I'm like, I get it. You want to save money as a client, but that's taken my job now, So is that a valid concern?
Yeah, for those kind of specialties like that, yeah, you probably want to watch out, because things like, the voice acting piece, and even just a while back, Tom Hanks sued a dental company that used his visage and voice via AI to sell their dental products. And
no kidding.
Yeah. So it's out there. And you've probably seen some of the, what we call deep fakes, the kind of videos where you see President Obama saying certain things and really it's Jordan Peele, these sort of things. And there's a lot of that. There's going to be a lot more out there, because one of the tests we can do on a computer to see if it's truly AI, it's intelligence, something called a Turing test.
Oh, I'm going to write this down. Yes, I read about that in your notes. Tell me about that.
Turing test. Really cool stuff. Alan Turing was a British scientist. He was actually a code breaker in World War II. Super duper bright guy. He came up with this way on how, an observer can tell if it's interacting with an AI or a person. They set up a situation. It's done in different ways. A lot of times it's behind two different rooms. You're talking by an intercom or something.
Right.
Other times there's actually a physical presence, but it's shielded, so you can't really, because we really have human-like robots yet. But we've got things that can move around and act like a human, try to fool people. And so to this point, no AI has passed consistently the Turing test. There have been a few that kind of come close. It's been 70 years now, and there's not one bit of AI.
70, 70?
70. Yeah, it was 1950. So really it's 73, right? So yeah, it's been a long time that they've been testing. And, but really, is there one test that we can test humans' intelligence with? There's all kinds of tests.
All kinds.
And that's the same thing we're going to see with AI, because a lot of people are looking at this test, the Turing test, as being a good thing. At least it's the start. But the problem with the Turing test is that it gives good evidence that if something is intelligence, but it's not good evidence that it's not, right? Because the AI could be trying to fool you, because they can do that in certain situations if they're specialized. So
yeah, but a lot of people aren't. I guess I won't say the word smart, but a lot of people aren't that cognizant of what's going on, where they may even suspect that it's not a person.
Yes. That's a problem. I mean, I've seen the bad guys are using AI to do voice phishing right now all over the place, calling pensioners, people retired, and so on, and trying to say, okay, your computer is infected and you need to pay $1,000 or give me your credit card number or whatever, right? And that can be all done with AI. You wouldn't have a human involved the whole way. And the trick is with AI, it's more than just a voice attendant that reads a script, press one. Yeah. It's actually making decisions on what to say in a conversation. Now, once it gets really good at that, that's maybe something that will pass a Turing test. And so those sort of things. But I could set up a system where I could be bashing out hundreds of calls an hour to unsuspecting people and having my AIs just try to steal off of them somehow, some way. And and it wouldn't cost me anything, really.
But here's the thing. Isn't it where if you do have a computer and it is AI generated and it is, say, calling somebody trying to get their money and trying to ask them questions, doesn't the information from the computer have to come from somewhere? Doesn't that come from a human?
Maybe not.
Okay.
AIs can run programs just like a human can run a program. And that's something the AI is really good at. Anything that has to do with computing and ones and zeros, it's great. If it looks at somebody and somebody has a smile on their face, they cannot determine all the time whether somebody's happy, sad, whatever. And so that you see it's really, really super bright in some areas. And sometimes it's worse than a child in others. And that's something for people to understand. With AI, it's kind of like it's growing up right now. We're just seeing in its infancy. We're seeing the different things that can be done. Where's it going to end up at? I don't think anyone knows what's going to be like in the end. I think it's going to ends up being a good thing.
I was going to ask you that about, okay, there's got to be some positives to this.
Yeah.
What are we going to see about that down the road regarding school kids, businesses, people with startups, stuff like that?
All that kind of stuff, because let's say, we've talked about self-driving cars. We're going to get to the point real soon where we're going to have self-driving tractor trailers on the road. And there's not going to be really a need for drivers anymore. And they've been doing this and testing it all over the West Coast and testing in Europe. And surprisingly, they do a lot better than the cars as far as running people down and that sort of thing. So, that's one thing they can do. Other things that AI can help, and they help with us now, really, to a certain extent, in automation. Let's say you run a big factory. And you have many supervisors that have to watch the machines. We really don't have autonomous machines. So what if you replace those people with an AI that watches over the other machines and looks for anomalies? And that's something AI is great at, looking for something that doesn't fit a pattern.
But that's kind of a good versus evil, because yes, it's good. It's more efficient for businesses and corporations, but it's taken people jobs away.
Yep, it sure is. But, so did television and the telephone and so on. It's just another wave of technology that people will deal with. We always do. But you're right. Yeah, a lot of AI stuff, but certain things, humans will always have to do any face-to-face personal interaction about financial stuff, I think. I don't think you're going to have an AI banker. That's something people will not deal with. Even though an AI banker would probably be smarter and be able to recommend better investment and everything.
Probably. But based on algorithms from the past and how things have performed. Right.
And, that's how a lot of these AIs actually learn. They use the entire internet as its database. So that's called machine learning. So you just turn loose a program, AI program, and say, okay, AI program, learn how to draw a red-headed lady, for example. And it'll go out to the internet and it'll find examples that fit and then it'll come up with its own.
Right. I've seen that before.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
So bad guys, of course, are trying to utilize this to their advantage, of course, to take advantage of others. Do you see other places where you think it doesn't belong?
Where it doesn't belong? I don't think it's going to be I don't think we see it in any sort of mass transit type of stuff like airplanes and jetliners and, trains and that kind of stuff. I don't think that's going to be adopted right away as far as a completely autonomous airliner. We'll probably see one, sure. That it's not a technological barrier at all. It's a human cultural barrier. That we have to convince people to get on this pilotless plane.
Nope. That's a hard pass for me.
We're doing the same thing with drones today in the military and with private drones. I mean, they're getting, I don't know if you've seen some of the private drones nowadays, Randy, but they are like little airplanes that you can fly around. They're amazing. Cool stuff out there.
So are we freaking out for no reason, or is this a good thing? As a tech guy, somebody who knows this and knows, you've peeled back the layers of the onion more than anybody on this. A group of our friends one night at dinner, they had this huge conversation of, it's pretty bad. It's really not good. It's going to be terrible. Our money, our banking, our housing, blah, 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 blah. Are we freaking out for nothing?
A little bit. But that again is human nature. I understand a little bit better than most
I
average.
would say so, yes.
It's kind of my industry. And I know that if anything happens, it's going to make such a huge impact on society. It's going to be 20, 25 years from now. And look how much can change. Look at what was happening 25 years in 1998 was 25 years from now. So look at the changes, and nobody knows what's going to be it's like. But we're going to hit a point where we've had all of these machine learning systems going out there and looking through the entire internet. By the way, this is one of the problems that the government has with Chinese apps, because they're collecting our data. And if they don't care about your name,
like TikTok in particular, right?
Yeah, they're collecting data to train their AIs on. And so that's where it's becoming. The data sets themselves are going to be very valuable. Stuff that like Twitter/X has, or Facebook, and those sort of things are already very valuable. But now they'll be able to take AI type programs and mine even more interesting data out of that.
Well, see, my philosophy on that is if somebody wants to look into my personal information or whatever, or my meager looking bank account, they'll get really bored really fast and move on. Because, who am I, right? Why would they hit pause on me, right?
Right.
Am I being reasonable here?
Oh yeah, you're reasonable. You probably, you're a media person, and so you have a little bit higher attack surface because people know you, and they know a lot of things about you. So they maybe guess a password with something with Buffalo in it or something, something like that, right? So yeah, that's the thing. It's just you just keep your eyes open, stay educated on what's going on. And it's not a bad idea.
That's why I'm talking to you, man, because I'm trying to understand this.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff. And, right now it's so amalgamous. When I was reading a few things in preparation for today, there's so many, even the really bright people that we know out there, computer science types, everybody's couching any sort of prediction because nobody really knows what's going to happen. Everyone was pretty much surprised with all these AI things coming out now, Chat GPT and all those. Now, Microsoft is launching something called Copilot that's going to be built into Windows. Everybody's going to get it in the next couple of weeks. It's going to show up with an update. It's going to have a new bar on the right side of your Windows workstation, and it'll be a AI-driven Copilot for you to do things. And it can do all kinds of stuff. It's kind of interesting. I tested it a little bit. It's like, write me a memorandum about how to recycle aluminum cans. And it wrote like a 4 or 5 paragraph bit.
Well, I can see that being, ethics has to come into play here sometime because I see some of these job postings, for a freelance writer or something like that. I kind of look at all that and they have a warning on the front of it. Any AI generated writings will automatically be dismissed. How can, say, for example, if an employer is looking for a freelance writer for whatever, a blog, a website, whatever it may be, how do they know it's AI generated? Are they allowed to do a cross check?
Oh, sure. They can check. And they can find out. Well, they can't say, okay, is it AI driven? They'll have the document. So at this point, AI is not so good where it doesn't use, like humans, certain words and phrases over and over, right? Like the connector words and all that stuff. You'll find that a certain AI may use like if, and, or whatever, a different word over and over and over and over. So that could be a key you're looking for. It's interesting right now. To answer your question, there is no good, easy way. But what they're doing right now, for example, at universities, is they're working with college students, and they're having them write an essay on a topic, right? Then they have the AI write the same essay on the same topic. Mm-hmm. They compare the two documents so they can start seeing these things we talk about, these repetitive words, or maybe a weird turn of phrase, or, we've talked about like phishing emails, always having like that word kindly, do this in there, because that's British English. Same sort of idea, so you have
that is fascinating to me. That is just crazy.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's no one that I know of right now that's marking it, but I'm sure real soon there's going to be, hey, is this document AI written here, upload it here, give me $5, and we'll tell you if it is or isn't.
I'm sure that's a thing.
Oh, it's on the way, no doubt.
As a tech guy, you're not worried about this.
I'm really not, but part of the reason is it's so far in the future before anything really, really bad could go down, like, AI taking over the world type of stuff, or Terminator robots, or these sort of things, that, 20, 25 years into the future, pretty far away. And anyone who's guessing what's really going to happen that far away, I mean, I can't even guess what's going to happen next year.
Yeah, pick my lottery numbers, will you, man? That'd be great. Now, one thing, I'm going to hit the pause button on AI for now.
Okay.
I definitely wanted you to share with our viewers, and we touched base with this on TV a little bit, very briefly, but I was so intrigued by this convention you go to every
Oh,
year.
yeah.
And sometimes it's in Vegas. What is the convention called? Is it a spy convention?
It's called DEF CON. And I think the last one was DEF CON 31, maybe. I haven't been in a couple of years because of the pandemic and all that stuff.
Right.
We had the virtual one. But it's really interesting because when you go there, it's a hacking conference is what they say. But, hackers can wear black hats, be bad guys, or wear white hats and be good guys. So you see a little bit of both. And it's always interesting to go there because it's things like when you first get there, you can't buy a ticket in advance. You got to stand in line starting usually about 4 a.m. to be able to make sure you get in there. And you get up to the front of the line and it's like $185 cash, no names. Because there's
just sounds amazing to me.
It's pretty crazy.
I bet you see some creepy individuals in there.
I see some really interesting folks. I mean,
I'm not talking about you, by the way. You know that.
Well, I made the mistake first time I went, Randy, is I wore like a sports coat and slacks and stuff. Definitely not the uniform for a DEF CON conference.
Okay.
You have hair dye and torn up black jeans and that kind of stuff, which is okay. I get along with everybody. But I had some interesting discussions with one gentleman, for example, I was having a beer with. And, seemed to be a nice guy and everything. He seemed to be really super smart. And we talked about some deep cuts on technology. And I said, well, what do you do for a living? He goes, yeah, I work at Best Buy. I like, you realize that you could, he goes, yeah, I know. I just like working at Best Buy.
The Geek Squad.
Yeah. No, he works the counters and he does stocking and stuff. He doesn't do anything technological. Technology is a hobby for this guy. And it was like weird. And I met a guy from the Ukraine who is pretty much an active white hat hacker over there trying to run down the black hat guys. And he gets death threats and all kinds of crazy stuff over there. So interesting cat as well. But we always, there's always games to be played at DEF CON. And one of my specialities in my testing is social engineering, where basically social engineering is being a con man, which we all know that that's all about. Just try to convince people to do things they normally wouldn't do. And a few years back, gosh, 6 or 7 years now, we had a challenge to get into a Fortune 50 company only using your voice and get a password that you can log in with. And it's like, okay, and we got a big corporate giant that you would know of, and I thought we did really good. We were able to get a username and password within an hour, just
your voice.
Yeah. Just say, hey, this is Scott from IT. Hey, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. What's your password? No problem.
Holy hot dog, man. That's amazing.
And we weren't even the first one. The first people that got it on their first hit, it took them like 4 minutes to get into a major.
That to me sounds like something just to go and be a fly on the wall. Are you planning on going to another one soon?
I'm going to go to the one in DEF CON next year.
Okay.
We can go.
I'm going to call you and we're going to talk again. I want to know what you find out. One last question before we wrap it up. I notice sometimes, especially I've been out of TV. I worked in radio and television for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it depicted on TV sometime where I don't know what that movie was. Michelle Pfeiffer was a reporter and she was with her photographer and she goes, let's go live. And she was standing on a beach. I'm like, hold up. Where's your live truck? Where are the cables?
Yeah.
Where's everything? So when you see AI and technology and all that business depicted now in movies, even past ones, do you kind of have a little giggle fit about it and go, it's not the way it is at all. They did that wrong.
That's it. Here in our offices, actually, we have movie posters all over the walls, and they're all of bad technology movies.
Really?
And, where nothing is right. But yeah, stuff, it's entertainment. It's not education. If you want to get education, go. There's plenty of stuff that you can read in YouTube. There's computer science classes. There's ways to create AI programs. There's so many resources out there compared to like when you and I were kids and trying to find stuff, going to the library, going through the Dewey Decimal System and trying to find a book. Kids nowadays, they can have the entire universe of knowledge on their notebook immediately. And if somebody wants to learn more about any of those topics, we're going to need a whole lot more IT and tech people, going forward. And, we'll see what happens. The cybersecurity side of things, there's over 300,000 jobs available today.
Really?
Yeah, for cybersecurity. And, a lot of it with the government, which is no problem. But we do that's pretty much what I do 40, 50 hours a week myself. So, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. What are you most excited about with AI as you as a tech guy?
Oh, sure. For me as a tech guy, I like the ideas of being able to manage large corporate networks with the AI doing all the heavy lifting while I sit back in a lounge chair and drink Kool-Aid, right? Because it's doable. And there's systems out there that do a lot of things automatic. But what I found in my field, there's bits and parts everywhere. Different companies doing different things. Eventually, this is all going to be pulled into somebody's going to have the bright idea to put these things together into an AI program that I turn loose on my network. And all I do is say, go get them. And it hits every machine, sees what's going on, sees the problem. It makes decisions on how to fix it. That's a symptom, or that's a characteristic of intelligence, right? So it makes decisions and then reports back to me on my lounge chair how it did. I
want that job, Scott. I may be retired, but I don't want to be bored. And that one sounds cool.
Well, I'll tell you what, if those come to fruition, there'll be a lot of them out there. So.
Well, I can't tell you how nice it was to see you again.
Absolutely.
You are always so full of knowledge. And let me know when you go to that. I'm calling it the Spy Convention because I want to call you again and I want to talk to you again about the creepy, cool stuff that you saw and what to look out for in the future in tech. How's that sound?
Absolutely. That would be great. I look forward to it.
All right. Scott Schaffer from Blade Technologies. We appreciate your time. And I thank you so much for joining us on More to Say.
Love it. Thanks, Randy.
This has been More to Say with Randy Naughton. Interesting conversations with interesting people. Be sure to like or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.